Hello from my heart, everyone, and welcome back to another great edition of Transitions to Transformation Radio Show. I am your host, Reverend Sue, and tonight we have another very special guest. I'd like to introduce Ernest Chu, author of the best-selling book Soul Currency and creator of Solar Currency, How to Harness Our Personal Energies and Solar Energy to Help End Hunger and Poverty. Ernest has counseled many on changing their mindset from lack to one of prosperity in all areas of life. Ernest Chu's book, Soul Currency, is more than just another prosperity or fulfillment book. It is grounded by the more than 35 years of experience Ernest has had as a Wall Street investment banker, a member of the New York Stock Exchange, a venture capitalist, and financial executive in a public company. It is this experience, plus Ernest's transformative spiritual journey and years as a spiritual teacher and minister, that has not only helped Ernest turn things around in his own life, but also to share with others what he's learned. And there is a quote by Buddha that is in the introduction of Ernest Chu's book, Soul Currency, and it says, "Your work is to discover your work and then with all your heart give yourself to it." And folks, Ernest has done exactly this and will share with us tonight as we may do the same to grow and prosper. And ladies and gentlemen, I proudly introduce to you Ernest Chu. Hello from my heart, Ernest, and welcome to Transitions to Transformation Radio Show. Thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. You know, I've read your book Soul Currency and reread it, and I just had a question. I know the definition of soul currency from reading your book, but could you please define what this is for everyone out there?
Well, it's more about taking the qualities that are within you as a form of currency and really investing them which are really the inner world, and investing that soul currency or that soul's basically the soul's worth, basically to invest it in, say, a project or into it for intention so that it leads to success in the outer world. So it's a form of currency, just like you would say, well, you're investing actual dollars, which are nothing more than symbols and agreements, to a project, and essentially what you're doing is taking what is really currency, which is what we have within, and investing it into the world to create outer success.
Wow, that's just great. And and I believe one of the ways we can start doing that is by eliminating negative self-talk, words and deeds. I remember I'd spoken to you earlier last week, and you had said that one of the biggest things to do is to get out of your own way. And that is so true, because a lot of us are conditioned to believe that we're less than.
That's correct. And unfortunately, it's considered to be, if you are open yourself, for instance, to receive, the tendency is that we've learned to believe that that's a kind of selfishness that is very akin to looking at ourselves from a very small view of ourselves, with a small s of being the self. That is, when we look at ourselves as something being far more than just one person, but literally connected to a far larger goal and a far larger purpose of being alive, you realize that when you receive, it's all part of the total flow of life, where you're giving and you're also receiving. And obviously, to be able to give more, it allows you first have to receive, and to be able to then have it flow through you instead of having it flow to you and then nothing much comes from that.
Oh, that's so true, and I really resonated with your book on that point too, especially when you said to be open to receive. I know I, along with many other people out there, have been conditioned to be giving to the point where we neglect ourselves in the process. And this is because we mistakenly view love as the denial of the self and seek this love through sacrifice or others. for others, and it's always good to help others, but we just need to balance this out spiritually and energetically, otherwise we run out of resources. And when the circulation of love is stopped by an inability to receive, then eventually we have little or nothing to give. And boy, I've been there, done that, and bought the T-shirt.
You put it exactly right.
Thanks. And I know you had experience what the Chinese called, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Wei Ji, which means crisis and opportunity.
Yes. Well, it's really what you could call the idea of crisis, where it is both opportunity and at the same time danger. And you can look at it in different ways, but when you look at it as a personal crisis, it is a way by which you can go beyond what your very limited view of the world or your very limited view of what is available to you, and break through to something where it is a far more larger view of the self and your place in life and your place in the universe. The danger part is that if you don't make that change, you really will find that you'll see a world that is potentially threatening. You'll see a world that you have to retreat within yourself, and it is a world where you don't reach out to connect with all of life, but rather a world that is looking, pulling within to be afraid of life and afraid of really stepping out and giving and being, as opposed to basically someone who is able to just go beyond that and really doesn't have those types of fears.
Yeah, and it's true. And the biggest thing for me was getting past that fear. But fear for me is paralyzing. Even with this radio show, I get deer in headlights sometimes. But I have to do it afraid, like Joyce Meyer says, and just really, open myself up to receive, because I had been blocked for many different things, and it was actually I had to get out of my own way, basically. And I just wanted to let everybody know out there also, if you'd like to ask questions, you can do two different things. You can go to my Facebook page, Transitions to Transformation Radio on Facebook, and I have a call-in number to speak with Ernest here. It's area code 727-858-4238. That number again is 727-858-4238, and I posted this on my Transitions to Transformation Facebook page as well. So it's winding down. I think we have, how long? A minute and 32 seconds. So when we come back, I guess we will talk about one thing that's really interested me, that's really going to help everybody and the planet, is solar currency. And Ernest is going to expand on that in our next segment. So that should be really, really interesting. It's supposed to help end poverty and really make things so much better for us. So everybody, I want you to stay tuned. And I'm speaking here tonight with a best-selling author, Ernest Chu, for his book Soul Currency, and also the creator of Solar Currency, which we will be talking about after this break. So stay tuned, and we have a couple of wonderful songs coming up, and we'll be back within 10, 11 minutes. And we'll see you then.
The holding company for Florida Power and Light actually has invested significantly in places like California, but it's not been doing it in Florida. It's been looking for the consumers to really do it for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to repeat that currently 30 states require that a certain percent of energy resources come from natural sources like solar energy, and it's I'm just hoping that all the states switch over, and we're kind of behind it, as compared to Europe. And I know Europe is way further ahead than us with solar energy as well as other energies available. So what I was just curious. I have a friend that's in Kathmandu, and they're currently suffering from poverty and hunger, and he runs a school. His name's Prakash Adhikari, pardon me, and he lives and works in Kathmandu, and it's just been a struggle with poverty and hunger for them, and he's trying to find homes for homeless children, and it's just not good over there. They really could benefit from the solar currency that we're talking about tonight. So I'm going to definitely swing them over that information.
Be happy to talk with him offline as well.
Oh, that would be great. 'Cause I know he's listening tonight. Hello, Prakash. And if anybody wants to call in, feel free. Don't be shy. We're here, and if you also want to, comment or make a suggestion, or ask a question on my Facebook page, Transitions to Transformation Radio, you're more than welcome to. Which I think I'm looking right now. I just want to see if I have a message or two. So I don't see anything here as yet, but everybody feel free to call in or go on my Transition to Transformation Radio show page on Facebook. Okay. So Ernest, there's so many things that are running through my mind right now. So I was just curious. Now this journey that you've been on, the Wei Ji, had led you to all this, to helping other people. And I'm just curious, how may all of us be able to help with solar currency?
Well, solar currency came about through part of my journey, and it actually, I think if I started to look at where that journey came from, it was in my junior year in college, which goes back quite a few years. And I happened to have taken my junior year in India, and during that period of time, there was a famine in a province called Bihar, and I started to see not only pictures, but got to actually go there and saw that you had villagers that were literally stripping the bark off the trees in order to find things to eat. That there were people that literally were dying of hunger because there was little rain, and there was basically the crops failed because of the heat and lack of water. And so, and also it was very difficult. The Indian government at that time really did not respond as quickly as they could have. And so I felt a sense of, I guess not only horror, but it was almost, I wished I could have done something. And it was one of these things that stays in your mind lifelong. And I thought, if there's anything I could ever do in my life, I wish I could have done something there, and maybe there's something that could be done. And then I put that away, and maybe quite a few years, decades later, I had written, of course, a book on soul currency, and having done that, and also I had also been a part of the founding team, which was a project of the Soul Currency Institute, which was Green States Energy. And so the combination of the two suddenly, at one point, became got to a point where I suddenly asked the question, what could happen if, instead of looking at solar energy coming through as power plants and so forth. B, if you, instead of being a commodity where you were using this energy to light up buildings and things like that, what happens if you looked at it as a currency, where a currency, of course, is a medium of exchange, whereby you can take solar energy and trade it for things that you could that you might need, for instance, medical supplies or food, or eventually drills to drill wells, things of that kind. And it seemed to me that particularly if you looked at the equator and took 800 miles in either direction, a large percentage of the world's poverty and hunger and so forth is really in that zone. You're seeing this Africa, South America, places of that type, even in the United States, but in Asia and places of that kind. And it also happens to be probably the best zone for solar energy. And you can already see what happens when the Arabs monetized oil. You know, they went from one of the poorest regions in the world to one of the wealthiest regions in the world, and over probably maybe no more than maybe 5 decades. And so I believe the same thing's possible when you start to look at the areas in the world where you could use solar. My thought, though, is rather than just simply giving it to governments or allowing individuals to do this, I thought it would be really an opportunity to practice a form of what I call cooperative or collaborative capitalism, which is essentially the ability to have the benefits flow to the people who live there, who are a part of that, who benefit from it, and you really jumpstart the economy instead of starting it with one or two individuals. I recognize that in the United States, where there's a lot of entrepreneurship and there's opportunities for very talented people to basically build companies and do things individually. In other parts of the world, it is the collective that often is the strength of the local area, and that's really where I saw the opportunity to really jumpstart some of the economies by starting very small with micro power generation sites. And we know that works because in the United States, micro power generation sites are all over. They're known as rooftop sites, which sometimes power your swimming pool, or they may be very small little solar signs that power, say, a school crossing, or power basically signs that advertise things. In China, they use these micro power generation sites to put them in the fields where they're used to power bug zappers, and they're able to use solar power bug zappers instead of putting out a lot of toxic pesticides. So it's been used, and of course cooperatives in the United States have been used since probably the late 1800s, and we know cooperative capitalism works in its best way, but basically in the United States that's not been our tradition. It's been more, this has been a land of individuals and individual enterprise and things of this kind. And I thought this really, from the standpoint, you could use cooperative capitalism in regions and in towns and things of that type to really help increase and multiply the opportunity for actual doing actual economic development by pulling up the entire region. Because you see, the thing is that most of these solar panels and a lot of these solar mini solar sites really could last 40 years. They have the ability to do this. So it's not just a one-time thing where it's used up. It's every time the sun shines, you're building resources. And so the thing to do is to put a structure that allows you to have a way to save some of those resources and use that to trade it for other things. So that becomes the currency. And in a sense, the mini solar production site, like a bank, and you don't have to wait for depositors to show up so you can re-lend the money. All you have to do is wait until the sun comes out. And in near the equator, the sun comes out probably 320 days out of the year, and it's right now considered to be almost a curse because it dries out the crops, and there's no water, there's things of that type. And right now, this is probably an opportunity to harvest the sun and turn it into an asset and create resources to be used to begin to change everything from hunger and poverty into something where there's prosperity and health and well-being.
Wow, this is just wonderful, and I just can't thank you enough for creating a technology that would use solar energy. We have about a little bit under a minute left. I'd like for you to tell people where they can get in touch with you, through your website or.
Well, they can get in touch with me through Soul Currency, which is www.soulcurrency.org, and this is a project of the Soul Currency Institute, very similarly to the first project, which was Green States Energy, which has now become one of the largest independent power producers in the solar area, with the idea that we could create a very conscious company that used the principles of soul currency and at the same time provided leadership to help bring this country into energy independence.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much. We're going to be back after this next song, so stay tuned, everybody. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Transitions to Transformation Radio. Well, I want to thank Ernest Chu once again for coming on our show, and I really want to speak to him again as soon as possible. Solar currency and soul currency is going to change the world. It already is changing the world, making it a better place for everyone here. And I just want to apologize for the broadcast problems. I am recording this message at the end to say my thanks to Ernest and to everyone out there listening. God bless, and once again, we'll see you again on Transitions to Transformation Radio. Have a good night.